Welcome to the bright side of longevity. Join Dr. Roger Landry and guests as they discuss the bright side of getting older through healthy longevity. Guided by research, this lighthearted and educational discussion will leave you with practical tips and ways to impact your lifestyle to brighten life's journey.
Well, welcome everybody to the bright side of longevity. I'm Dr. Roger Landry, and I am with the famous, illustrious, skillful Danielle. Good morning, Danielle.
Wow, Dr. Roger, thanks for that great introduction. Good to be with you.
It's appropriate. And so today we're going to launch on to another topic that was something that Danielle brought to the table, and I thought was very appropriate. Why don't we get into it a little bit? What is this all about, Danielle?
Yeah, so we were talking about women and men through life transitions, particularly with aging and say 50 plus. And the reason it came up is I was discussing with Dr. Roger this amalgam of clients that I've been working with, and they're typically women who are 50 and above. And they're struggling with many facets of aging, the feeling of invisibility, the discontent with their appearance as they change, their physiology going through menopause, the life changes at home where their kids are moving out and maybe they're changing career and finding a new identity. And it's all happening at once and it's overwhelming.
Well, that has to do certainly with the emotional and where they are in their lives, but there's also a lot of very physical changes going on.
Absolutely. And as somebody who just turned 50 herself, I remember talking to someone years ago, and I'm feeling this today. On the inside, we feel like we're 30 and can do anything. We don't feel any different, but our bodies are telling us, hey, this knee maybe can't climb quite the way it did before. And when we don't pay attention, we end up injuring ourselves because we're like, well, I could do this 20 years ago. Nutritionally, what I'm eating, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, I could eat this before, but now it doesn't feel right. And then the menopausal transition, which most people don't know, it's not just instant. The average life of a menopausal phase is 7 years. And for some people, it can be a decade. And they have up to 40 symptoms. This is beyond hot flashes and head fog. This is very real anxiety, depression, fatigue, irritability, digestive issues, weight gain, sometimes vertigo. Now, to be fair, not everybody feels the negative effects, but 85% of women are going to experience something. And when it happens all at the same time and you start to see all these things, a woman's like, what the heck is going on? And that's kind of why I wanted to bring it to the table today. Like, this is what's going on and it's okay. We can get through it.
Important topic. And for you guys who are listening, don't turn us off. Because although we're going to concentrate on women for this, so many of these things apply to males. They struggle with emotional things, their role in society, that they weren't what they were before. And in fact, many people have called it male menopause when guys can go crazy and start to, act like they were in their 20s and even doing dangerous things. So a lot of this applies. Stay tuned, men, but I'll interject a few small things, but this is really about women. And I believe when Danielle proposed this is a very important topic. I have a wife who's been through a lot of this. I have a daughter who is going through it, who's Danielle's age, and I see it in so many of my friends and their kids. And you think about feeling younger. Well, wait till you get up to I'm not up in triple digits or anything yet, but I'm on my way, and I feel a whole lot younger, and that's a good thing. So let's continue on with this. This sort of it's really about ageism in many ways, but we've talked about the blue zones before.
Yes.
So why is it that the blue zones, if you don't recall, these are areas of the world where older adults, where adults tend to get old, very old, and yet are very, very vital and physically and mentally and socially engaged and having purpose. So when, in fact, in Okinawa in particular, but I probably in all the blue zones, if you ask someone how old they are, they'll lie to you and say they're older.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Who would do that in the US? Maybe someone who's 21 or 20 years old and wanted to be 21 or something like that.
Exactly.
But after 21, you want to be younger than you are. But anyway, they would say that. Why would they say that? So what are the conditions that make them want to be old? And it has to do with a lot of things we've talked about. We've it's about having a role in society, being appreciated, respected, sharing your wisdom, guiding the society. And this is not new, really. Again, those who've been listening to us for any length of time know that I'll wax into it again about how we have lived in small bands and groups for 99% of the time we've been on Earth, and older adults were so important to that society. So why the difference between the blue zones and what we're experiencing in our system?
And I find that so surprising because even before this call, Roger, I was getting advice from you about my career and some different changes and things. And I think of all the role models I have who I go to who've been through what I'm going through now. And I think about the people that I coach who are younger than who I'm like, yes, I've been there and I understand. So in the blue zones, for men and women, it's a time of mentoring. They never disconnect from society like they do here when they get older. They are integrated in all aspects of raising a family, in making decisions in their community. And I find that that's very different here. And I believe that that's why in the blue zones they're so successful, because they never disengage. They're still integrated.
That's it. They see the role they have. They use the skills and experience and resilience that they have earned and developed over the years. And the society almost requires them to share that with them, and they feel responsible to do it. And so they have a role and therefore respected. This all changed with the Industrial Revolution, about 250, almost 300 years ago, when living and society came all about production. And when older adults couldn't produce in the sense of widgets or whatever, they were marginalized, retired, and also worse than that, they were marginalized as far as their value to their view of their value to society, which again is in the blue zones, unchanged almost from that other time. So we really went down a wrong path. So let's get into a little more detail about what women feel. I think you're an expert.
Well, the thing that comes up the most for me now is gendered ageism, right? So it's the double whammy of being a woman and all the cultural expectations and stereotypes on top of we're getting older. So from a physical standpoint, the physical appearance, our society glorifies youthfulness. They say buy age-defying cosmetics, get plastic surgery. And then when you get plastic surgery, you get mocked for trying too hard or looking fake. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how you're supposed to have plastic surgery and look natural. I mean, and you're asking for a magic wand to take you back 30 years. And why would you? And I've responded to many, I'm sure probably gotten blocked by now, of these articles, women over 35, stop wearing X, Y, and Z. And which I'll politely respond, for those of us over 50, we really don't care what you think we should be wearing. We're going to wear what we want.
Yeah. Hoorah.
And female love interest in movies, when you statistically, they're 20 years younger than their male counterparts. So we have a very dysfunctional idea of how women should behave and what they should look like.
we go through stages of our lives. We're children, we act like children. We're adolescents, we're crazy, we act like adolescents. And for the most part, we accept that. We're young adults, and that's a stage of life. And we rise up and we meet the requirements and we do it. Yeah, no, there's some tough times and things, but basically we're pretty much accepting of the stage we are in life. But it changes when there's all this ageism going on. I mean, and where we're not accepting the fact that now, in your case, with female gender, we're an older woman, and that is a stage of life, and we're fortunate to be there, right? It's a privilege. How many of your friends haven't made it to your age? I have a lot of friends who haven't made it to my age and who are dropping off even as this last year or so. And so it is a privilege. But it's just crazy that this particular stage is one that we tend to ignore.
And what's interesting about that is, the ignoring. I hear from a number of women, and I've started to experience with myself the idea of feeling invisible. And it's weird because it's gone from one extreme to the other. 20 years ago, I walk into a gym and men were helping me with the equipment, whether I needed help or not. These big gallant men, here, you obviously need help lifting this weight. And I would say, well, I really don't. So it was kind of some unwanted attention. Well, now it's the opposite. It's like, excuse me. I walk into the gym and I say, good morning, and I'm ignored. So I just assume somebody's hard of hearing and I say, good morning, excuse me.
Hey, what you're doing wrong, Danielle? You got to go to a gym with a lot of older guys because in my eyes, you're a young woman, a very young woman. And we all pay attention, but that's it. Just go with our older men. Just
yeah.
No,
And
no.
we'll talk a little bit later about, because I've also seen the opposite where women are feeling invisible and they're diminishing themselves.
Yes.
And they're almost compounding the problem. We'll get into that in a moment. But I did want to mention there was a study in 2021 that found that ageism and gender stereotypes represent a double risk for women over 50 in the workplace, which is the double whammy. So as we're talking about these changes, it's not just physical and self-confidence, but it's affecting both home life and career.
As a male, I have to say that in many cases, we Y chromosomes add to this significantly. We can dismiss women as hormonal. We can dismiss women as, flighty or superficial. And why men do that, I don't know. It maybe makes them feel better about themselves, but that can be very damaging. And women are going through in menopause a huge hormonal change, but there's also so many other changes that are happening in their lives that happen to men. About your value to society, your strength, your gravitas, so to speak.
I don't want to diss men because the biggest offenders are often young women.
Oh, really?
In the workforce, where you're hearing older women are going for an interview and the younger women are assuming they can't learn the technology, they can't move quickly, they can't work hard. Which is so interesting to me because in our younger years, we had trouble getting hired because, oh, you're going to get married, have a baby, and go on maternity leave right away. So we're facing the other end of it where now we're on the receiving end. So I don't want to just say that it's only men, because women do this to women, which is not a good thing.
Good point. I see young men doing it to older men. It's an amazing thing. Who in a sane world would demean or marginalize or diminish in any way a stage where, if they're lucky, they're going to be there? I mean, without doubt, we're all aging. No one gets out alive, so to speak.
Yeah.
We're all aging, and to diminish it's almost like a self-destructive aspect of our society. Well, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, I was going to say the bright side of longevity just took a dark path, but we've got some really good solutions. And Roger, I should let you lead this after writing Live Long, Die Short. You have a lot of great tips that you pulled from there. So I'll turn it over to you before I get it back on my soapbox.
Yeah. You got a great soapbox today.
Masterpiece provides communities with personalized content that keeps residents engaged and focused on their unique pathway to healthy longevity, no matter the circumstance or external influence. Powered by Masterpiece provides communities with the data and research needed to drive both the resident and community forward. Learn more at mymasterpieceliving.com.
Well, first of all, why chase after an identity that is not real? I mean, why chase after youth and the way you were when you were younger, when you're older? It is something, as I mentioned before, we haven't done before, basically, and this is sort of this is denying. This is denying where you are in life, and it's denying reality. And why would you sort of chase after an identity again that is not real? Why not embrace the reality of where you are? See it as a privilege. Be grateful for the fact that you're still around. And hopefully, if you're paying attention to your lifestyle physically, intellectually, socially, and meaning and purpose, as we always talk about, you're doing it in a way where you're still very engaged in society. You can be engaged and continuing to grow. Being older doesn't mean you can't grow. God, I hope not. That's what we've been talking about. That's what we've been all about for a couple decades, huh? Danielle, you and I and the Masterpiece team and so many others. And so that just doesn't make sense. And someone who has, as in the blue zones, who's attained any level of older age, beyond the adored young, I mean, embrace your resilience and your survivor status and your wisdom, and again, realize it's a privilege, and you've lost so many friends, and why not honor them who were not able to reach this stage? Honor them by living your best life, by sharing what you've learned with others.
Oh, I just got chills when you said that. It's like passing the baton or carrying the torch. What an opportunity to take those messages that other people can't share and build it into your purpose, because your purpose is going to change. And to me, it's a perfect time to find your renewed purpose. Now, what am I now that these other roles and that part of my life is over?
Exactly. And purpose, just as you're saying, changes during your life. And it can change as you're older, and a lot of things have already changed. It can still continue to change, where you may have a major, say, political engagement, and then you may go to, a garden, or whatever. Your purpose is defined by you. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What gives you a sense of worth and contribution? We've said before, it usually involves other living things, people, animals, plants, the planet. That's really what does it for most people. But, finding your purpose and sharing that. Mary Oliver says, tell me what it is you're going to do with your one wild and precious life. So many of us have heard that. But really, the power of that, and that's not just for young people. I like it even better. James Joyce said, better to pass into the other world in the full glory of some passion than to fade and wither with age, or to fade and wither in your mind.
Yes,
that
exactly.
You're not valuable. And that's the real danger.
Because we are living longer and healthier. We're not withering as much as we perceive we are. And one of the activities, and I know you've recommended similar, is, I tell somebody, imagine you're receiving a lifetime achievement award. What would you like to hear somebody say about you? What kind of person? What did you contribute? And sometimes that that little exercise can go a long way in figuring out, who do I want to be? What is my purpose? And how do I want to show myself to the world today?
That's beautiful. That's perfect. You could write your obituary, although those tend to be kind of vanilla, but maybe your eulogy. Someone gets up there and talks about you. But I like that. Lifetime Achievement Award. Okay. What is that? And are you there yet? Oh, you still have things to do. Oh, you're still growing. Okay, well, get on with it then. Forget all this, martyrdom or feeling bad about yourself. Get out of bed and continue to grow. And let's work towards earning that Lifetime Achievement Award.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's about being grateful. We always, you've told us in your meditations and so many other things you've done about mindfulness, about gratitude and how important that is, because even during COVID, there were things to be grateful for. Surviving one of them, but also
Yeah.
things changed in many ways where maybe we appreciated nature more, each other, being able to get together. Anyway, gratitude can get us through some rough spots and make us much more appreciative of where we are in our lives right now.
Yeah, and gratitude is reciprocal, and it's a social connector. So in addition to just feeling better and seeking out gratitude in a way that changes your brain, because when you express gratitude and you scan, your brain starts to scan for those positive moments in life, and it actually changes your brain, and you have neurotransmitters that make you feel better. That's only one side of it. The other side is the person expressing appreciation for what you've done. So it's back and forth. So it connects us as a tribe, which I think gets back to the blue zones. Don't disengage. Seek out, when you express gratitude, you're actually finding yet another way to connect with another person.
Yeah, it may not be as easy as it is in the blue zones, but do it anyway. You will find people. You know what? We see it with kids, and we tell older adults to make sure that they have an intergenerational experience. And I get the word, well, they're really not interested. I said, wrong. Once they get rid of their technology and they really sit down and sit with you, they are fascinated by older adults, not only their grandparents, but just older adults in general. So don't feel, you just can't adapt. Maybe as real what you may have even felt when you were younger about older people. In fact, that's very common. When you were younger, you didn't have a great appreciation because the world's full of ageism. And then you get to that point, and now you can't escape the criticism that you had or the feelings that you had about older adults, because now you're there. And so that's okay. You can rethink this, be grateful that you did make it, and say, okay, well, I'm going to make sure that younger people don't feel that way about older adults, because I'm staying engaged. I'm going to continue to grow. I'm going to contribute if I can. But even if you're limited and can't change the world, whatever it is that is your purpose, it could be raising roses, growing roses, making the world more beautiful. And that would be enough.
So we have some great general takeaways. But if
Please.
it's okay with you, Dr. Roger, I'd like to share some that could be specifically for women and what we can do as a society. And
I'll add some of the men's stuff after.
yeah, because I realize I have a bias. So
Oh, do I?
I would say, for women, adapt to your changing body, honor how it has served you. If you need to, if you're noticing when you're eating, you're feeling different, practice mindful eating and intuitive eating, taking the time, which again forces you to slow down and really, really focus. And when you do intuitive eating, your body tells you what you need. Tap into that crone wisdom. We're so much a society that looks at the old crone as a negative, but centuries ago, the crone was the wise woman, the decision maker, and often the leader of many of these older tribes. So look at this time as you go through menopause as an opportunity for renewed self-reflection, renewed purpose, self-care, greater intimacy in romantic relationships, because you're not concerned about having children, not having children, and raising a family. It is just about your connection with your partner. You can decide how you want to present yourself to the world. You don't have to give in to those expectations. And I will say that a large percentage of women, the older they get, the less they care what people think. And I applaud that for certain. And in terms of invisibility, refuse to diminish yourself or become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Continue to be present, continue to learn and participate and keep skills sharp. Because I've also experienced women who they say they're invisible, and I realize they're not engaging. When people are asking questions, they're not answering. They're kind of pushing themselves off to the side. Don't become what you're afraid of. And
Ah,
as a
very nice.
Yeah, and as a society, we need to continue challenging those aging stereotypes and changing those messaging. There's mounting research that disputes these stereotypes that are finding that, for example, older workers are actually more loyal, more productive, they miss less time at work. So we need to continue those studies. And the last one is, if someone's going through these transitions, make it okay to be part of the conversation in the workplace. When you talk about the Industrial Revolution, there's a whole new way of thinking about how can we accommodate for the older worker, because the older worker stands to be loyal and productive for decades.
And there's going to be more of them. So, well, that was excellent. And I guess what we're saying is let's look at the bright side of longevity, huh? Right?
Yeah.
So with men, I many of the things that you said would apply to men, I believe, and I'm further along in life than you, and so I see something that I'd like to address really kind of quickly here. Maybe we'll do a podcast on it in the future, but young men are struggling today. When I was young, it was quite you were sure what your roles were. There was a draft only for men. Mostly men drove, believe it or not. Mostly men went to college, believe it or not. And so, thankfully, all of those things have changed. Women are doing everything. The song says, anything you can do, I can do better. In many cases, that's the truth. Athletics, even, everything. And so, young men are struggling for their identity, and unfortunately many of them are going to young men go to some sort of dangerous activity anyway, but it's even more dangerous with their driving, with guns, with drugs, with very risky behavior. And I think an older man, as however old, 40 plus even, but but certainly older, who have been through at that age, I think can bring some wisdom, to a little blue zone wisdom to that, and perhaps find a venue that or a program that can allow them to share with younger men how indeed what is a real man, and what does it mean to be masculine, because the way our society had defined it is all changed. So now it is quotes undefined, and you can see it in extremely risky and dangerous behavior and shorten lives because of it. So, men, embrace this new role that you have. You survived all your crazy activity. You didn't die. Yeah, and Danielle and I are always talking about my near death events. Didn't die, and so there's a reason for it, and I'm going to share that, and I want to make sure that younger men get to be older men. So that's a good purpose to have, and find the best way to do that. So, wasn't this a good topic?
It's a great topic, and you've already alluded to the next one where we can dive deeper into men's. We talked all about women. We could talk all about men and what they're going through too.
Oh, they're a mess. They really are. I mean, women are struggling, but men are sort of right now kind of all over the place, and we'll sort it out in time. But hopefully, hopefully we can avoid all the lost lives that we're seeing.
Yes.
And I see it all around me. So anyway, that's a good thing to do. But I'm so happy you brought up this. I believe that women really have a lot of pressure on them in their lives, even more than men, in very many ways. about, performing, doing it all, working, motherhood, their appearance, and all of that. And some of it is unrealistic, and that's a lot of pressure, and can wreak havoc. And I'm sure with your coaching skills and meditation skills, Danielle, I applaud you for all the good that you're doing, and your writing, by the way. So you're doing great work. And we, as a group, you and I, and Brightside, and the people we work with, we're going to continue to work on those societal changes, because this is not a way to run an organization or a society. So
Yeah.
we'll stick to it, and hope you stick with us as we do it. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Dr. Roger. You've been listening to Dr. Roger and Friends, The Bright Side of Longevity. If you like the show, please rate and review, and be sure to click to follow.